How's it going, guys? What are you doing? And welcome to a brand new video tutorial from I. But anyways, so today we got a really awesome idea to go through, as a lot of developers, a lot of people actually love to do web scraping. So the technique called web scraping is basically a technique used to extract data from websites, from platforms like remote jobs platforms, or even you can scrap data from stocks to get like the latest stocks, like for today's stocks or something, which basically or mostly used by bots. You create bots like you put them in a server, and for every single like 2 hours or something, the bot scrapes some like stock website. It gets the latest stocks, so he knows how to trade and stuff like that. So it actually uses it pretty much on analytics and for bots as well. So you can use bots for like Instagram followers or Twitter followers or something like that, or you can even use bots for doing something like Twitter auto retweets for the specific tweets and stuff like that. And you can use this to pretty much use the data from the web scraping you used into that more specifically. So that's exactly what web scraping is, or what it's actually used for. You can use it pretty much for whatever you want. There's actually plenty of websites with informations you can just go ahead and scrape in. So for us, what we're going to be doing is actually getting into a remote website which is called Remote OK, which just basically just another like remote or jobs offering website, which basically allows you to see the latest jobs from different companies, of course, like based on the date, like today's jobs and yesterday's jobs and so on and so forth. So you basically take a look on these jobs and you know exactly what are the jobs, what you actually get beneficial of, the technology is going to be used on, and so on and so forth. So that's basically what it is, and we're going to be scraping into this website. We grab the data of the latest job. So we're going to scrape in like today's job. So we're going to create like a bot or a web scraper bot that grabs the data from this remoteok.io every single day. So every single day it scraps the website, it gets today's like offered jobs in here, remote jobs, and it just like shows them on our website or just stores them on like a file or something like that, so we can later on, we only just see the jobs. You don't really need to care about that. You can even create your own thing to get notifications on your like mobile phone, create a specific application and stuff like that. So actually plenty of things can be done with that. Just with like a simple stuff you can do, you can actually make this a huge improvement with that. So we're going to be starting web scraping, as I've said, on Remote OK, and the tool we're going to be using, or pretty much not a simple tool, we're actually going to be using a headless like a browser API controller, which is called Puppeteer. So Puppeteer is famous enough to for you actually, guys. It's actually a Node library which provides a high-level API to control Chrome or even Chromium over DevTools protocol. So this basically what it allows you to do is actually control a browser, a headless browser, which just like a browser without the UI, and it just gives you the high-level API to open pages, routes, or go to like specific URLs, take screenshots, do whatever specifically you want on that specific URL, and so on and so forth. So basically, whenever you are like going or into a Chrome, you can do that with Puppeteer, but not on Chrome. You actually have your own browser right underneath, but it's basically not running, or you don't see the browser. It's actually a headless browser which runs in the background without the UI, and you can control the browser as any other user. So that's basically what Puppeteer is and what it allows you to do. So it's actually pretty famous, as I said before. It has about like 60,000 stars on GitHub and stuff like that. So actually mostly what you can do with it is the features and the getting started guide. So the getting started is pretty simple and pretty straight to the point. You have just to go ahead and do npm install Puppeteer. This is actually the core. We need to install the Puppeteer with the browser itself. So this is going to be installing Puppeteer, and of course it's going to download a version of Chromium for every single like a different cross platform. So for Linux, you're going to have 282, which pretty much the platform you're running to, and you can just go ahead and install it real quick, and you're going to get all the different stuff from that. The usage is pretty simple. It has the whole API in here, so you can take a look on the documentation, learn more about it, and you can use it. So I'm going to be using Puppeteer to open up a browser page, scrape the data out of the remoteok.io, and we're gonna create our own Express server to serve all of the data, and we're gonna be just seeing the data into like a web page. So that's basically what is gonna be happening. A web page, scrape all data from the remote OK, and we're gonna have all of that in our web scraping journey. So let's get started, guys. So just open up Visual Studio Code or whatever code editor you're gonna be running on, and first, this is actually the project you're gonna be working on. There's actually a folder called Remote Jobs Scraper. So this is actually the main folder, because I've created just one repository for all the web scraping tutorials that are actually coming to the channel. So for every single tutorial, we're gonna create a new folder. I'm gonna put all the codes regarding that tutorial inside of that folder. So that's basically what it is. And we got in here like an Express server already made for us. So yeah, we're not gonna go through making this Express server because it already has all the different stuff and it's pre-configured. So you can just take a look on the repository on GitHub to know more, or to see the full code of the server if you really want to just like dive into the application and see what's going on. Now what we simply need to do first is actually install Puppeteer. So we're gonna go npm install, and I'm gonna have to uninstall Puppeteer, as I've said. So you can simply just go ahead and copy Puppeteer from here to see how it works. Even though if you don't want to just install like Chromium or something, you can just go ahead and install the core, and you can use your own Chrome browser. But I don't recommend that. I recommend you download Chromium and everything into that. So just copy paste as I've said, and you just do install Puppeteer. Everything's going to be saved and it's going to be installed. So you have to wait for it a little bit because it takes a lot of time to download basically Chromium version, as I said here. So afterwards, everything's going to be downloaded, everything. So we got our remote job scraper. So we got the index.js, and this is where all the logic is going to be put in. Now, before starting any scraping projects, or before we can start scraping into the application and grabbing the data out of the remoteok.io, what we simply need to first do is actually understand how the structure of the remoteok.io is actually. So pretty much we have to look into the remote OK, how it is structured, the HTML, and basically pretty much everything. Because on the Puppeteer, we're going to be doing is actually going to be looking at, so we're going to open up like a web page, we're going to open up the DevTools, and we're going to start looking for elements. Like we need to go ahead and look for today, and we grab all the elements underneath that. So we have to look out for a container. So basically to do that, you just simply go to inspect the elements and look for like today's thing. So we got jobs board here. As clearly see, it is the main table container because it's being held inside of a table. So inside of that, what we got is actually got a T body. So the T body is gonna have all the jobs. So only today's jobs. So if you take a look underneath till yesterday, so we got the first T body has only today's job, which is pretty simple for us. It makes things simpler for us. So just open up the T body and go underneath that. You're gonna have for every single job listening, what we're gonna have is basically we're gonna have a table row. So it's clear in here. We've got a table row for that, table row for that, table row for that, and so on and so forth. So what we need to take a look is actually go inside of the T body, and we grab the data out of the single table row. So each table row is going to represent a job with its title, the company offering the job, and of course the technology. So those are the three main factors we are going to be pretty much using. We're not going to be looking at the time because it doesn't really match that matter. I know it matters at some point because here it says like EU only, but we're only going to be working on the technologies, the title of the job, and basically the offering company. And yeah, pretty much that is. If you just go inside of the table row, we're gonna have, for example, we're gonna have a dev, description, and instructions. So let's say we wanna just grab this title. So I'm gonna do inspect elements, and basically gonna get into the H2. And if you just take a look into that, what we have is, let me just zoom in here. Okay, zoom out a little bit. There you go. We got the item prop. It has actually a title, so we can do like a CSS selector or a query selector to select whatever the item prop equals title. So we're gonna get this header 2, and we're gonna grab the inner text out of it so we can extract the data out of it. So it's pretty simple actually to grab the data. So what you have to do is basically just open up the web page, and you have to look into the content in order to understand what is going on behind the page, how everything is actually structured, what are the classes or the attribute put inside of this HTML stuff. So you can just do ahead and do that, even though it uses something like React or something, a pre-rendered framework or a library, even though that's because everything is going to be rendered into the DOM eventually, so you can do web scraping normally without any issues. So that's the basic thing we have to think about first, and yeah, it's pretty simple, nothing really complicated. So to go and start by doing that first, what I'm going to be doing is actually getting Puppeteer. So I'm going to require Puppeteer as always, so I'm going to be using Puppeteer. Let me do that. Puppeteer, is that Puppeteer? There you go. So we got Puppeteer first, and yeah, this is how you declare a variable basically. So we're gonna have like a list of jobs, and the jobs, they're gonna represent every single job gonna have a title, company as I've said, and technologies. So we're gonna have like an array of jobs. So we're gonna just be doing jobs equals an empty array for now. And yeah, this is how you present an empty array in JavaScript. And we're gonna have like a main function, which is gonna be doing like module.export. We're gonna export this function because we're gonna be using this module specifically outside. We're gonna call the data, or we run this module outside from the server. So we're gonna be doing that. I'm gonna have async because Puppeteer, the full API of Puppeteer, is actually promise-based API. So what we can use is actually we can use the ESX async awaits with the promises, like better than using then and catch and stuff like that. So better than using callback-based thing, we can just turn our code, async code, turn it into a synchronous looking like code. So we're gonna have async in here, and I'm just gonna be doing creating a function as I said before. So first, for Puppeteer, what you need to do is actually initialize a browser. So always you have to initialize a browser. So we're gonna wait for the browser initialization. I'm gonna be calling Puppeteer, and I'm gonna be calling launch. So here we're gonna be launching a browser. It's gonna launch a headless browser by default. It launches Chromium in the background. Second thing, we create a page. So we have to create a page in order to do like a wait from the browser. What we're gonna be doing is actually a new page. So you can create as many pages as you want on the browser. So yeah, that's pretty convenient. It's pretty much the same thing as using a normal browser though. The last, or pretty much not really last, to access a page, we have just like to wait for page go to. So the API, as I said before, is pretty simple, pretty damn easy. I'm gonna be looking at https remote okay.io. So we have to go ahead and do this website in order to scrape the code of the website and grab the data out of it. And eventually we have to actually wait for browser.close. So always close your browser, because it might cause memory leaks and stuff. So it's pretty bad. You have just to close your browser before exiting. And that's basically what it is. Now, before exiting the browser here, we have to do the scraping logic. So I'm gonna create another function, and it's gonna be just a normal function. I'm gonna use async as I said before, because a full promise-based API. I'm gonna call this function load latest jobs. Okay, I can't do that real quickly. So this is actually going to be responsible for loading latest jobs. We're going to have the page as an argument passed through, because we're going to be using the page to access the data and scrap everything out of it. So we're going to have all the different stuff right over there. Now, whenever we want to load the latest jobs, what we can do is make sure that we initialize jobs array into an empty array, like clear the previous jobs so we can add the new jobs. Now, first things first, what we have to get is actually the today's jobs body. So the today's jobs body is actually the table body I've seen right now, which is like the main containers I've seen before, which is like the T body in here. So pretty much that's what it looks like. So what we're gonna be doing is actually today's jobs body, and I'm gonna do a wait page, and I'm gonna use a selector. So this is how you do query selectors for a single element. You get only a single element out of this query, and I'm gonna be telling it the T body. Simple as that. We have to wait for it as well. Now we need to get the actual rows out of the body. You remember? So every single T body, the first T body basically has a couple of rows. Each one represents a specific jobs. So we can do like body rows equals await, and we can do like today's. Okay, it's not today's. I'm misspelling that. I'm mistyping it. So today's job, yeah. And we're also gonna have a selector, but we're not gonna have only a query selector. We have query selector all to select all table rows, and this is gonna return, as clear as in here, an array instead of just the first element. So you have to get an array of table rows to get all the table rows eventually. Now we got all the table rows. What we have got to do is actually loop on each table row and extract the data out of it. So we can do like rows mapping, and of course we're going to do like body rows, and I'm going to use the array map function. The array map function is pretty simple to use, just like a callback based iterating function. So just going to give me the row in here, but the most essential part in here, since the full Puppeteer API is actually promise based and we want to use async await, we need to mark this function as async, and basically the map function where it returns is actually returns an array of promises. So we have to wait for all the promises to resolve in order to be able to continue the work. So what we can be doing here is just like creating a function, but before continuing any work we have to do await promise.all, and we have just like rows mapping to wait for it. Otherwise, if you don't do any of that, because you have to wait for all the promises in order to be resolved, in order to continue, since we're going to be calling this like in the middle here before closing the browser eventually. Because if you close the browser and the work didn't like finish, you're not going to have anything. You're going to just crash everything up. So that's actually the main point behind that. It's pretty simple. Now let's go inside here, and all the logic is gonna go inside of here. So first we're gonna grab the job title. So we're gonna just do like job title elements, and I'm gonna await for the row dots. And remember, as I've said before, we got like an attribute for every single title, which is like called item prop equals title, which makes things actually easier for us to work with. And what can do in here, so that's gonna get the title elements for us, which is the header 2 elements. Now we need to check, for sometimes the title is not valid or something, so before continuing or something you have to make sure that the job title is not undefined. And this is actually the critical part checking, or the critical if statement checking for our work code. And we can just do like const, we get the title value. Now to grab a title value from like a value from Puppeteer's element, we have to first get the property, which is either like inner text or inner HTML or something, which is like a DOM based element property. Then we convert this property into a JSON value in order to be able to grab the value out of the property. So to do that, I'm going to just create a helper function to do that. And simply here I'm going to call this function get property value, and here the first is just going to take the element, second the property name. Okay, and to do that exactly, I'm going to have just like property, it's going to have await as always, and make sure to use async for every single await function. I'm just going to do elements dot gets property, and we're gonna have just like property name. I have to wait for that. Then eventually we just like await and return the property dot get or JSON value. And this one is just gonna get us the JSON value, and it's gonna return it. And make sure to call this as async in order to be able to do that. So the title value in here, what we're gonna be doing is actually get property value, and I'm gonna get out of the job title element, and the property is actually inner text. Let's clear this in here, And always make sure to not forget about the awaits, because all of them are promise based in here. So here we got the title property. Now what we can also do is actually get the hiring company pretty much. So we got in here, this is actually the hiring company. If you just inspect, so we got H3, but inside of an A target, which is the hiring organization. The item prop of this is hiring organization. So we can be using, of course, that again as we did with the title. So what we can do is just const hiring org. Okay, and we have just like await. We're gonna grab row again. We're gonna be doing selection. So item prop hiring organization. There you go. And yeah, that's basically what we need to do for that. And make sure to call awaits. I think I'm mispulling that. There you go. Yeah, sometimes it happens, you know. So let's here what we're gonna be doing. I'm gonna just create like the organization. I don't know why I keep misspelling that. So we're gonna have just like an empty string for the organization name, an empty string for the technologies, and of course the technologies, or empty array for the technologies. Basically, the actual technologies what it has is of course those are the technologies. I'm gonna hold them inside of an array. So I got like front end, Angular 8, JavaScript, .NET, so on and so forth. So we're gonna have all of those inside of an array in order to be working properly, of course. So to do that, here we got the organization name and everything, and we need to make sure that the hiring organization is actually val element in order to continue working with it. And I'm gonna be setting like the organization name equals await gets property value again, and I'm gonna pass in the organization. I'm gonna get the inner text out of it in order to be able to work for that. So pretty simple actually for that to be working as, and that should be the actual organization name. Pretty simple. And yeah, so we just need to do for the organization name. Now for the actual technologies, since we got like a couple of tags for the technologies, what we can do is actually look for a single thing. So let me just take a look into this Google Chrome's specs elements and take a look on some like technology here. So we got all of those in a TD with a class called tags, and each tag is actually an A or a hyperlink element, and inside of it there is actually an H3 by a div. So what we can do for that is basically just go ahead and use the class selector. So I'm just gonna do const tags. I'm gonna wait for all the tags in here. I'm gonna have like double dots, and I'm gonna have just dot tag selector, because like a double, this one is gonna be like all query selectors, because we're gonna grab all the tags for the specific elements in there eventually. And what we can do is basically, let me just see that. Okay, so this guy's, where's the Chrome browser? So we got tags. So yeah, so this should be it. We can just grab all the tags, and let me just go ahead and grab all the technologies. Now, since the technologies is actually the array we created in here, so you're gonna do like technologies equals await, and just gonna use promise.all again, because we're gonna use array.map. So we're gonna have like tags.map and map all the tags. We're gonna have like a single tag, and always forget about async as usual. So every single JavaScript programmer always forget about declaring as a async function. So we got that. So we got promise. We wait for all of that. Now we need to extract the tag content. The tag content is actually the H3, which is inside of the tag. So we're gonna just do like await. I'm gonna have tag dots H3. Okay, H3, sorry. And for that, what we're going to be simply doing is actually returning await get property value So the tag content, and simply I'm gonna guess the inner text out of it as we did before. Simple enough. And for this one, for some reason the script in here, it just actually returns the uppercase of those. So all you can do is actually return the lowercase of them, and for some other reason, since I tested the script before, what it does is actually duplicates those. It returns the uppercase and the lowercase of every single tag or every single technology. So to actually get rid of that, what I can do is actually a real quick tick. I convert these to lowercase. Let me just lower. Okay. So we just return to a lowercase, so we have all the technologies into a lowercase, and eventually I'm going to create a set in order to make sure they are actually all unique. And for basically doing that, so after just getting all the technologies and stuff, what we can do is actually here we're going to be removing all duplicates. And for removing duplicates, we're just going to set technologies into equals a new set. So the new set in here, the set object constructor, it allows us actually to create a unique object without any reoccurring or a duplicate of the specific keys we're going to just provide it. So here we're going to just pass in the previous objects, and of course the problem of solved of duplicates. Now eventually what we can do is actually create or add the job into this function. So let me just create another helper function that's basically going to allow me to add every single job to the function. So simply this is just like going to be a helper function to add the jobs, nothing more, nothing less. So it's going to have like add job, we're going to have the title, company, and we're going to have like technology. So this is going to represent all the args left, which is just like an array of args. So for that, I'll first make sure that jobs are valid. So I don't want to break anything or do any exceptions. Second, I'm going to create a job, which is like going to be consists of title, company, and technologies. And eventually I'm going to do just like jobs push, and yeah, here I'm going to push a new job. Simple as that. Get back here, add the new job, and simply here just going to do like add job. I'm going to be passing the title value, the what is called the organization name, and technologies, of course. And here we can't pass actually an array, so we have to do like the ESX destructure in context, which is going to return or pretty much like remove, destruct all the items out of the array into the actual arguments, so we can have this passed as a separate argument, and everything's going to be working fine. Simple enough. Yeah, that's basically what it is we need to do for now. It's actually add the job, and we wait for promise to all, and nothing really complicated to do for that. So simply in here, just like do a wait, because we called an async function there, and like load latest jobs. Pretty simple. Now we got here, we need to pass in the page. After loading that, what we can do is console log latest jobs, and I can just go and see the jobs. Now to run the scripts, let's just go and do like node. Okay, I think I'm inside the server, so let me just get rid of that. I'm gonna see the remote, remote job scraper. I'm getting to that. I'm just gonna do like index.js. And yeah, we don't have like an auto running function in here, so let me just go and do like so module.exports.run. I'm just gonna be running this function. Okay, cool. Now let's run the function. It should start actually now. Open up the browser, go navigate into remote. Okay, and yeah, there we go. We got actually an error. So it's assignment to a const variable, which of course I did this const. All right, that should solve the issue, hopefully. Okay, again we got node index.js. Let's see, let's hope for that to work, finger crossed. And yeah, to lowercase is not a function. Okay, why is that happening exactly? To a lowercase is actually not a function. full of that. Let me see. Organization. Here's it's all lowercase. Let's just see. Yeah, because we're not including the await, so just make sure to include the await. Otherwise, we are actually accessing the promise, which is not good. And just to lowercase, like that. Now, hopefully that should work. Finger crossed again. So yeah, there we go. We got actually our jobs, and we got an array of jobs. So we got like title, the company, new contact services, product designer, company jobs, and all the technologies like product design, UX design, product manager, and so on and so forth. So you got all the lists of today's job like right in the jobs array. Pretty simple. Now we got the scraping done and the part of the tutorial actually done. But for furthermore, what you can do to make this a little bit more better is actually creating a server and making sure that the server creates a cron job. If you don't know what a cron job is, it's just like basically something that automatically runs a script for every single amount of time, like for every single 10 minutes or for every 24 hours, like a day. It just like runs a script which fetches the data or scrapes the data from remote. Okay, it gets all the data, then it shows them on your web page, or they can even email them to you so you can basically see what is going on or whatever like that. So this is what we're going to be simply doing. It's actually creating a cron job for every single minute, just for testing purposes though. You can change the time to get all the jobs, scrape all the jobs, put some of the array objects, and for the server is actually gonna, whenever we ask for it, is actually just like the web page, is gonna display all the latest today's job from that. So as I said before, I've already got an Express plus Pug engine server, so I was actually running the Pug template engine in here. If you're not familiar with Pug, you can find like a tutorial in my channel. You can find it in the description below if you really want to like learn Pug really quickly in just like a single video tutorial, because it is pretty simple templating engine and pretty cool as well to work with. So if you want to learn that, take a look in the description. And we got Pug in here, we got Express to run everything, and we got all the routes right down here. And here for the scheduler, we're going to be using cron, which is like an npm package made by, or basically a clone of the cron available in Linux. So cron tap in Linux, so this is basically the same thing or works the same way on that. So what we're going to be doing is just going and install. So you simply just need to do like npm install cron and make sure to save it in order to be able to work with it. And simply after that, what we can do in here is just go ahead and like require. I've created, as I've seen here, a scheduler.js, which is on the root, like on the root folder basically. So I'm gonna just do like a cron job, and I'm gonna require cron. So we got the cron job, and here I'm gonna create a new cron job. So I'm gonna like call this remote jobs scraper equals. Or basically I'm just gonna guess, sorry for that. I'm gonna get the remote job scraper script. There you go. Now we got the remote job scraper. What we need to do in here is like do like console log scheduler started. There you go. And here I can do actually the own cron job. So I'm gonna name this like fetch remote jobs job, because you know the naming here is actually a little bit ridiculous. So I'm gonna create like a cron job here. I'm gonna do a cron job, a new cron job, and the cron job string, or this is actually the cron pattern. You can learn more about the cron pattern in let me just see that real quick. So you can just go to like cron tab.guru. Let me just see this slide. Which is really great, which helps you scaffold your own patterns, and it tells you exactly what is actually about every single pattern, what it does. So this pattern, which is all asterisks, and just like for everything, what it represents, minute, hour, day, so all asterisks is gonna run for every single minute. So I'm just gonna copy that. You can scrape your own thing, do it for every month, every day, whatever you want to hear. So I'm gonna do it for every single minute, as I said before. And I'm just going to run an async function, and this async function is actually on tick. So every single time the job runs, this is the function is going to run, and what are the scripts. So this represents the script that is going to be running for every single cron pult. So every single minute, this is the function going to be running. And for that function, what we can do is going to console log fetching new remote jobs, and for that, we're just going to await for remote jobs scraper and run, of course. And I totally forgot, let's just go back into the remote job scraper. I'm going to export, do module.export another function. So I'm just going to do module export .get jobs. And this one, what it does is just going to go ahead and return the jobs, because we want to get the jobs out of this. And simply, I'm going to just do like console log jobs. There you go, simple enough. And explicitly, you have to go ahead and start the job, otherwise it won't run. So I'm just going to do start, and the job is going to be started once we start this module. Simple enough. Now we got our cron job. Let's go ahead and set up the server real quick. We got the server in here. Of course, I'm not going to go through the full server creation. You can find the source code in the full repository in GitHub. So just look in the description below, or you can go to github/ipinwis. You're going to find the full source code for this web scraping application. So for that, here I created a route called up.get and /jobs. So whenever you go to /jobs, you're gonna have those jobs here console log to you, which I don't need it anymore, and it's just gonna render the index file and just gonna pass in the jobs variable, which is like an array of jobs. If you like a look on the views, we got an index.pug here. What it takes, just gonna loop through the jobs. It's just gonna print the title, company, and all the technologies again. Simple enough, nothing really complicated. Have no styles, nothing at all. Pretty simple and pretty straight to the point. So that's basically what we've got in here, and yeah, so we can just go ahead and use that, and make sure just go ahead and do the job scraper require, and of course make sure to start the schedule, otherwise it won't work. You have to start the schedule, which means you have to start the cron tab or the cron job you want, otherwise it basically won't work. So yeah, that's basically what it is. And for the package.json we've got, so just let me just go inside of the server, and we got like start command. So the start command uses nodemon and just like starts the server out of the box on port 3000, sorry, and you can customize that. So we're just gonna do yarn start, and this, what it should do is see in here, we got yarn starting, we got schedule job started, and here every single minute it runs, and it runs for the first minute. So it gets all the job. We do like schedule started. Those are the latest jobs we got from the scheduler simply. Now what we can do is actually go ahead and check out our server. So let me just gonna take a look on our server. Take a look, 3000. There you go. We got nothing to see here, but if we go /jobs, there you go. We got the list of the jobs that we wanted to scrape, or pretty much we scraped from the remote. Okay, so the list of jobs, we got title, MCP company, new context service technology, Android developer, software engineer, company, Libra, ENC, and the technologies front end, Angular 8, JavaScript, full stack developer, and so on and so forth. So we got all the jobs. So if you take a look in here, they are pretty much the same jobs we scraped in here. So pretty cool, isn't it? So this is basically just a simple and a tiny example what you can do with web scraping and the power of Puppeteer and stuff like that. So this is just like an introduction to web scraping, what it does, and how you can create that simple project with Express, Puppeteer, and a Chrome tab just to make things automatically working in the background with your Node.js application. But yeah, that was actually pretty simple, guys. Sometimes this error happens. But yeah, hopefully guys you've enjoyed the video tutorial. If you like this type of tutorials, and if you want to do like more of web scraping, you can do like Instagram web scraping, Twitter, create Twitter bots, stuff like that. So I think guys, as I said before, hopefully guys you've enjoyed the video tutorial, and also always just don't forget to subscribe, push that like button. That makes me just super happy, and I want to just like give you everything I have and like just like create more video tutorials. So just give me that engagement. I really need it, guys. So thank you guys for watching. As I said before, hopefully guys you've enjoyed it, as I said before. So see you guys hopefully in the next video tutorials, and yeah, adios.